Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Cross Examination. I have a very special co-host with us today. His name is Will Shalter. Will, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Ethan, for having me here. My name is Will Shalter. I'm a high school teacher at Pana High School. I have a degree in bachelor's degree in English literature. I love writing. I love the creative art of it. I love literature, and most of all, I love movies and music and video games. So, Ethan and I get along well with our topics. Yes.
And this is going to be a little bit different. If anybody's watched the first couple episodes of what we were doing, I had interviewed some author friends of mine, and I thought it turned out really well with those guys, Anthony and Barry, two great authors. But also want to do some different segments here on the podcast and the YouTube channel of just some different things of discussing movies and books and just the state of those industries and entertainment and pop culture and all those kind of things. So here on Cross Examination, we're going to be talking about all those, and Will is going to be my partner in crime as we run through them all.
This is going to be fun. Let's do it.
So I thought we would start out by kind of just talking about where things are right now in the film industry and the book industry, the entertainment industry in general. And, with COVID, this has really just thrown a major wrench into everything. And we're going to talk about here in a few minutes about Ghostbusters, and this was a movie that should be coming out. The Ghostbusters Afterlife should be coming out in July. Almost a month away, and now we have no movies. I haven't heard what theater things are opening back up. I haven't heard about theaters opening back up, but I assume that that'll be in the plans, obviously, at some point. And what are they even going to show? Have you heard anything about this, Will? Like, what are theaters going to be showing when they do come back?
I haven't heard too much. I have heard that, one of the big ones this summer, obviously Top Gun. I think they're talking about it still being released in the summer and everything, that the show must go on. Another one, Tenet, I thought was one that they haven't really, they talked about it still going on, that they were thinking about moving it, but they're staying the course in July. So there's a lot of movies that they're trying to stay the course. I think May and June really got messed up, but I think some of those later summer movies are trying to keep locked in, so to speak, so that they could actually see some big dollar amounts come in before life gets back to normal, when people aren't on summer break or anything like that. That the summer movie season doesn't slip them by, and they have to compete with holiday dollars coming in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think something that we don't really consider is, a lot of people go, oh, well, just put it out.
Yeah.
Just put it out there again. And, there are huge, millions and millions of dollars that they're spending on the budgets for these things, and
sure,
have to be so far out in advance. I mean, even like if I write a book, if I finish a book today, it's not going to be a year before it comes
mm-hmm.
out. And that's just in the publishing industry,
mm-hmm.
which is, vastly different. So, right. I mean, they have all of those kind of things that we have in the publishing industry and more. And so you can't just flip-flop the dates as easily as what you would expect. But I hadn't heard about Tenet still being out. So is that supposed to be July then?
I think it's supposed to be at the end of July. Yeah, I was reading an article, about Christopher Nolan, and they were talking about, we're going to move the date. He said, no, we are keeping the date. He did not want to move that date, and I think it goes back to those windows. Those windows are small. I know a lot of movie productions have halted during this time, but I think you don't want to get into that into that that backup and have to fight for opening weekend dollars against another blockbuster or another powerhouse actor. So yeah as far as I know, I think Tenet is still going to be released at sometime at the end of July.
Hmm. And Top Gun as well.
That one I forget. I've heard things back and forth. You're going to have to fact check me on that one as far as Top Gun. I thought it was, but then somebody told me that maybe it was Christmas. But I think it really makes sense because it really is more of a summer film. If you think about like, Top Gun style film, it's more of a summer blockbuster than it is, a summer or Christmas, movie. Does it say?
I'm showing December 23rd, 2020.
So they're going to do a Christmas starting. Okay, so maybe that has changed then. They were originally going to do July, but yeah. So that other person that I spoke with, they were right. Yeah, that it has been moved to Christmas. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that actually, like you say, it does kind of feel like be a good one for Christmas time. Something a little different.
Yeah. It should. I mean, but I think people are just starved for entertainment at this point. New entertainment. So, I'm sure it'll do fine.
Well, and that's something we were talking about earlier about how different models of entertainment have really come to the forefront, and also some old ones are coming back. One example being the drive-ins. We actually a couple weeks ago had taken our older kids and went and saw Dazed and Confused.
Oh, nice.
At the drive-in. Which was awesome. It was actually really cool seeing that movie.
Sure, right? I mean, yeah, that'd be great on the big screen, with everyone parked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And they have I know some ones they have coming out in our area, like Bullet is one, and July they're gonna have Bullet, and
nice.
they had
cool.
The Goonies and E.T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they were just showing like old movies, but classics, because there isn't that level of entertainment. But it's been interesting that the streaming, I mean, we have really, that's saved people during this time. I mean, and it's, we've got so many different platforms. HBO, I know, is coming out with this HBO Max, which they have HBO Now, HBO Go, and HBO Max, and I don't know what the difference is between any of those things.
I've lost track. I really don't know.
I mean, some of these things, they need to kind of be rethinking some of the naming conventions.
They just need one, HBO, and just call it that. We don't need to call it anything else, right?
Call it HBO.
Call it HBO.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Well, and especially if you say, what is HBO? Home box office? Isn't that what? Yeah. So, it's still home box office. It's not, that hasn't changed. But
no.
But yeah, all the different streaming services. I have been surprised a little bit that Disney Plus hasn't been more with all this going on.
Yeah.
I felt like, I mean, Netflix has had some movies come out, and again, it's you can't just drop these things in,
right.
That's right. Obviously they have productions and things like that, but I kind of have been surprised that during the heart of the quarantine that service didn't really step up more, with it being the kind of new kid on the block and really trying to pull people in.
Yeah, it started off, I don't know if we can think back that far, but like November, I mean, Disney Plus killed it. They were predicting I forget how many millions of users, and it like tripled, how many users, actually signed up, and they were killing it. Mandalorian, that's what people were talking about. Great new series, Star Wars. And then, COVID happens, and all of a sudden, Tiger King. The memes, everybody, it's like Netflix stole the show, nobody, I just felt like nobody was really talking about Disney Plus anything at that point, it was all Tiger King this, and ESPN The Last Dance that, if you're into sports. I mean, we didn't really, I just didn't feel like I heard that much from Disney Plus. I think you're right. It's just like they missed an opportunity, or there was some sort of release cycle that they were, not quite ready, and they kind of missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely would have been. I mean, if they could have got the, again, the production on these things, you can't just drop it in and have a
No,
finished product or whatever.
right.
But man, if they could have put out like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, or
Wow. Yeah.
the WandaVision series, Loki, all these which are supposed to be coming by the end of the year,
Right. Right.
they would have put these out during the quarantine. I mean, like, wow, that would have been. I think they really would
Oh
have got
yeah.
a leg up.
Yeah, everyone would have been talking about, who wouldn't spend the money to, subscribe for, a couple months. At this point, you're not spending, money to go to the movie theater or go shopping. What's, $12 a month, for the next 12 months or whatever it is now with Disney Plus. I mean, yeah, I was looking at my options, and yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, I've seen all the Star Wars. It wasn't new content that was really being generated, through Disney Plus. I didn't really go. It wasn't my go-to during the whole quarantine at all.
Hmm.
Yeah, nothing really sparked my interest.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same, and I think you touched on something that we talked about the other day. Actually, like what was the cultural, okay, so you have these movies and television shows and things like
Hmm.
that come out, and they surpass, they kind of become a cultural phenomenon. People are talking about them. They're water cooler movies, I guess, is
Yeah.
what I'm going for. Uh, and when you had mentioned the other day, that was a great example of this, would be Bird Box.
Hmm.
And I think your comment was, where was the Bird Box during this?
Hmm.
And I think you named the only two that I can think of, which was,
Right.
Tiger King and The
The
Last Dance.
last, the last dance. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, the Michael Jordan documentary. And yeah, it definitely seems strange that you've got Amazon Prime, Hulu, you know, the list goes on, Disney Plus,
Hmm.
Netflix,
Hmm.
Crackle.
Yeah.
you know,
Crackle. Yeah.
I mean,
Don't forget about them.
don't forget about Crackle. Um, but but we, and Tiger King is what we got. But I guess it's just,
Yeah.
like you say, it's everything was caught by surprise, and nobody was able to
Right.
put this content out. But we mentioned something to spin off of that a little bit. We talked about Mandalorian, um,
Hmm.
how everybody, of course, was going crazy for Baby Yoda and all this. And I think that
Yes.
the second season is really shaping up to be pretty cool. I don't know if you've heard anything.
I haven't heard anything about the second season yet. No, no, I'm not. I'm not there yet. Yeah.
The rumor that I've been hearing, um, and this is a Star Wars fan thing.
Okay.
Star Wars fans would be excited about this. Nobody else would care. But Ahsoka Tano, who was Darth Vader's apprentice. Okay, so when Darth Vader was a Jedi,
Hmm.
he had this apprentice, and this is from the Clone Wars
Okay.
cartoon series and all this. And she's been in all the animated series like
Hmm.
that they've had, this Ahsoka Tano.
Hmm.
And so she's been this cool character that's been in the animated side of Star Wars, and now is reportedly Rosario Dawson is
Okay.
playing her in live action for the next season of The Mandalorian.
Wow. Yeah, that would be huge for people. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
interesting. I hadn't heard that.
that's definitely one that
Hmm.
been super exciting. And she's like a super powerful Jedi. That, well, actually, she's kind of this, where she's doesn't even consider herself a Jedi anymore. She's
Hmm.
been on the run from the Empire her whole life, because when it when she was trained, she was young, and then of course Mandalorian takes place. I believe it's after Return of the Jedi, but it's before Force Awakens,
Okay.
if I'm getting that right.
Okay.
And I'm sure someone will comment if I don't. I'm not, but I believe that's where it falls in the timeline. I think it's
Okay.
kind of right
Hmm.
before, a short time before
Hmm.
Force Awakens and the whole and all that happens. So yeah, I think that'll be really cool to see if this kind of fan favorite character coming to life. And I think, the really cool thing about that is that it shows that Disney is actually listening to fans.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I mean, that was when I heard that, I was like, whoa, like that's
Mm-hmm.
that's like a total fan service,
Mm-hmm.
get hardcore Star Wars geeks excited
Right.
kind of thing. And
Right.
I thought that was really cool.
Well, that's what's so neat about these, these streaming services now. I mean, you can get into the MCU world, MCU universe, right? In the sense that you can explore some of these minor characters without dropping $200 million, in the budget, and had to, create, some sort of minor role for them to play in the next big film. That you can act.
Mhm.
I mean, it's great, and and then the amount of content that's going to be continuing to be generated from this. I mean, yeah, streaming service. We really, you and I've talked about it before, like the golden age of television. I think it really is coming upon us more and more, and it really goes back to what role will movies really play in the future, and how will they really shape up when people can have great entertainment options at home, and they can just stay there and stream in their pajamas, and
Yeah.
and and get great storylines with decent special effects.
Well, and everybody has a big screen now. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's standard issue now. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
You get that, you get that, and like,
yeah,
some Tupperware when you move to the suburbs. You get the big screen,
exactly.
Tupperware, and some,
Yes, Pyrex come in, and
yeah.
Pyrex comes in and knocks on the door, or Amazon or FedEx, and here's your Pyrex, here's your big screen TV that you're getting at, it's a
Yeah.
Black Friday
Yeah,
sale for like
it's almost a
$2.99.
requirement. It's like you got your food, your water, your shelter, your big screen.
Yep, yep.
So not really, um, but yeah, I think you touched on something there of what role is film going to play. I mean,
Right.
you got Martin Scorsese saying Marvel's not cinema. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, burn.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
So anyway, I'm sure it really hurt their feelings too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but movies really have become kind of that big spectacle thing, and I think
Yeah.
it's interesting that I find that the best storytelling, like the best actual stories, seem to be coming from the small screen, and
Hmm.
from not just your NBC, ABC type things like
No.
that, but
Hmm.
you more your HBOs, your these more limited series. I think that's almost
Hmm.
the future
Right.
of some real, of where really good storytelling is going. Like a 10 episode limited
Right.
series is just perfect, because you stretch it out to this 24 episode or more,
Yeah.
you know.
Right. And it's serialized. It's just a little too much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're, some of it's filler, some of it you're stretching, some of it,
Right.
and the 10 episode kind of thing, but you have
Hmm.
more time than just on the screen,
Right.
to explore the characters, to really get into stuff, and yeah, it is interesting that, is that because the medium is better, or is it because good storytellers are gravitating toward it?
Hmm.
Why is that? Why are we not? Because even the movies that were going to be released this summer, I mean, there were definitely some that I was excited about.
Right.
Ghostbusters being one of them.
Hmm.
We'll talk about here in a sec. Uh, but it seems like every summer, which is the big movie season,
Right.
from May to July, August, start of August. It just seems like every year I'm a little less excited.
Hmm.
I don't know if maybe I'm just getting old and cynical, but
Yeah. I think I'm with you. And there's, like you said, like there's been always a couple films that I look out for those dates. Okay, that weekend we're not vacationing. We're not, we're not traveling that weekend because I want to make sure I'm nearby my movie theater and I'm gonna see it. Right. That's kind of one of those things. I think about in the past, obviously, the Avengers films. I always circled those dates in my calendar and did that. But yeah, it seems more and more as the characters aren't developed as well in films. You just don't care, or they, the classic was, recently this year was like Sonic the Hedgehog, right? So they released the trailer. All the fanboys, Sega fanboys, I don't know, them out. I don't know how many are there, really out there. They complain about what he looks like, and the studio has to go back, right, and change how he looks so he looks more like, the actual Sonic, right?
Mm.
And supposedly they're making a second one, and I didn't get
It's
it.
a huge hit. Yeah, it was. Well, way bigger.
$40 million or something. It's weekend, or I mean, was it? I mean, it was.
I don't know what the opening. But it's definitely been a big hit, and I think going to be for sure in a sequel.
Yeah, and I guess the point being, that I was trying to make with that is when you take those existing properties where there is already that character development, that connection with the character, people are very protective of that, and I think that's sometimes where the studios have a problem is they take these characters and they think they're disposable, immediately in the film, and it gets people upset. It's like, how could you do that? How could you kill them? We were talking about Iron Man 3 the other day, right? With the villain in that one, and we were like, what? How's this? You just threw away a perfectly good villain.
Yes.
It's
well,
like,
arguably Iron Man's top
right,
villain, the Mandarin.
right, and it's just like, shoot, gone. It's like, okay, like,
yeah,
there could have been a whole season of that, right? Of him going back and forth again. I mean, no.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the old, I don't know if you remember the old Iron Man cartoon that was back in the day. I mean, the Mandarin really was like his arch nemesis. I mean, from what I remember.
Yeah,
And then they come out with that, and then, but the rumor is that there's another one coming out, a movie coming out from Marvel called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, or Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, maybe.
Okay.
And the Ten Rings is what the Mandarin wears.
Okay.
And so, of course, they're saying the Mandarin's going to be, the rumor is that the Mandarin is actually, the real Mandarin is going to be coming to the MCU.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that even that, I mean, that's a perfect example. People did not like that.
No.
And so they've kind of listened and went,
They're backing up again.
Which is good, I think,
in
a lot of ways, and in some ways it's bad. I mean,
yes,
because in some ways you kind of want that, you don't want it to be corporate committee based,
right.
And I think that's something we, are lacking these days, is that kind of Christopher Nolan type director,
right?
Which is why people get so excited about when a new Christopher Nolan movie comes out, because he's a filmmaker who's making something different and doing something, trying to push the boundaries a little bit, and yet doing things that are that kind of, action and the popcorn flair, to them.
Right.
And yeah, it is kind of, you mentioned about circling the Avengers on your calendar, and yeah, but what other than Marvel and DC, if it's not a superhero movie these days, what are we getting? I mean, it's kind of sad to me that we're not getting these Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, just where is just a standard really good action movie,
right
I mean, of course you got the Fast and the Furious movie, who that are kind of in that role, but yeah, it's so much is so much has come back to Marvel and superheroes
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
it's all these. I guess that's where I'm going with this. Is it's all these continuing franchises,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not getting any new original content. It's these things that have been around for 50 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we're making cool movies about these characters and
Mm-hmm.
situations and things. But where's the original? Where's the, you know, why aren't we seeing more of these Christopher Nolan type movies? And I don't know that we are going to answer that, but I think
Right.
it's definitely something to sit up and.
Yeah, it's definitely something worth pondering. I mean, something to, okay, just to be aware of in our, in today's culture, what is actually presented to us, as entertainment, and how, and stories are important.
Mhm.
We talked about, I mean, talked about a little bit, in previous conversations, when facts and numbers don't mean anything, people go back to stories. Kids, students of mine, they go back to stories, and that's, oftentimes how, I relate to them. When we're looking at a character or narrative arc, I'll bring up, something, some sort of narrative arc, like, it's kind of like Bucky and
Yeah.
and Captain America. You know how there
Well,
are friends, and why is Captain America so committed to him? Because of friendship. Exactly, just like this character. That's that friendship
mhm.
that supersedes any you know desire to be an Avenger, or your new friend who's Iron Man. You're going to save your best friend. Your childhood best friend. And
Yeah,
they
and
did it.
that it makes me think of I believe it was Stephen King
Mm-hmm.
quote that said something along the lines of, that stories tell us who we are
Mm.
by tell us the truth of who we are by telling us lies about people who don't exist. It's something
Mm.
along those lines, and I believe it's a Stephen King quote.
Sounds like a Stephen King quote. It's
But
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's I always thought that was cool because that's really what it is. I mean, it does explore the human.
Mm-hmm.
That's why stories resonate with people and always have. Since for
Mm-hmm.
thousands of years. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just how people told their histories. I mean, yeah, it's how we related to the world around us. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad that there is that kind of the biggest medium now seems to be so it's all a reboot,
Mm-hmm.
remake,
Mm-hmm.
everything, and we've talked about this before, from the back end of things. Hollywood is all now, you don't have or in very limited, not like it was back in the day, back in the day in the 80s, and well, clear up through, from when film started, and 80s and 90s, you had these studio executives who would see the vision of
Yeah.
certain things, who would see, oh, this, I can really see where this story and these characters, that's going to be a breakout thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be one of those water cooler things. That's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and now a lot of those studios have changed to where they're more of an investment type model, where
Right.
it's all about a return on your investment. It's all about
Right.
looking at these rubrics of, okay, how much money did the, okay, we've got, our, so we're going to get this movie made. How much money did the screenwriters last
Mm-hmm.
movie make? What kind of credits does he have? Well, we
Mm-hmm.
need a known actor attached. We need it's all about these rubrics and numbers. So if you can attach it to a known property
Mm-hmm.
like comic books or a
Mm-hmm.
remake of a movie that people already love, you've got a built-in fan base,
Right.
and
Right.
they go, cha-ching. There's
Yeah.
we're guaranteed X number of return on our investment. And so, original stories aren't like that.
No. No.
People have to actually see the value in them, and
Right.
in order to get them done. And so it's kind of, but I think there'll always be people finding that
Right.
place. that
Right.
in the smaller I love what Bloomhouse is doing. I think they're doing some cool things, even though that
Hmm.
is a lot of, they're doing reboots and things. They're also doing
Hmm.
a lot of original horror content, but of course
Right.
it's all the where I see people doing that are more on that smaller scale, and
Right.
I really hope that we can get back into having these, like, you know cool original properties. Where was the last time that you went to the movie and saw Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where you
Yeah.
walked in and it was just like something
Yeah.
different, something new,
Right.
something.
Yeah. For me, I would have to say, thinking about that, you kind of hit on two things there. Yeah. I mean, probably for me, the last time was probably like Avatar with James Cameron. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, even though the storyline is kind of similar to a lot of his other storylines, you're putting on the glasses and you are transported to some different world like Jurassic Park. I mean,
Mhm.
completely new, completely different, took the world by storm. This, not an existing franchise, there wasn't like this, turnkey kind of thing. He created this world on his own, spent how many years developing the technology. I mean, that's like, in my opinion, like that's an artist. Like he's doing art in that moment.
For
So,
sure. For
for
sure.
Martin Scorsese, I would think he would consider that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well,
hopefully, right? I mean, I'm not
I
saying
don't
it's
know.
high
I don't
art,
know.
but
But
I'm not saying it's like an art film, but he's doing art there. I don't think anybody can argue with James Cameron's chops. Um, but like you said, I think, yeah, right now it's kind of been relegated to the smaller um, platforms. These new stories, and and it is kind of sad, because it's different than, when you were talking about, how they use existing franchise. There was some of that, like in the past, a little bit. You would have back in the 50s and 60s, they would always do, they would do like war movies, right? Rehashing World War II. So you had
Mhm.
all these, World War II movies, and then you had, early 50s westerns, and then eventually it went out of, so you had these genres that people operated in, the um, just like comic books, right? Comic book movies, but it's different now. Like you just said, it's monetized and set up in such a way that it isn't these creative forces coming together. It's the statistical phenomenon that they're trying to create through having the right pieces, screenwriters, directors, actors in place to try to create it, instead of people are just like, get together, hey, you want to make a film? Yeah. How about this? Oh, that looks great. Send the script to my agent, and then, going from there. Right.
Mhm.
They I imagine they do sit down with them. We believe with this director, and it will make this amount of money. What can we do to get you in this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It is the. I think we'll kind of go into the first of our segments here.
Okay.
Um, Off of that, because you touched on um, the movie. We're going to start a segment here called Classics Examined,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just going to be talking about some older films and why they were so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the one I wanted to talk about this week is Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a perfect example of like what you're talking about, because I don't know that Ghostbusters would have been made today. I mean, it maybe would have been made, but it would not have been made. It wouldn't have been what it was. Um, and I think we've got some pretty good proof of that.
Yes.
Even though this is a reboot, that was a reboot. If
Yes.
anybody has seen I don't know, Ghostbusters, I don't didn't it have a like a colon and like a little tag like "Here's a call" or so, I don't know,
Yes.
whatever it was,
Something.
the all female reboot of
Right.
Ghostbusters, and I hated it. I will just come right out and say that I
Yes.
hated it,
Mm-hmm.
and it had nothing to do with the fact that it was all women.
Right. No. Yeah. And I think a lot of those, they're funny. You look on SNL
Yeah,
and
I
you
mean,
watch some of their other films, they're
there's definitely
hilarious.
talent there,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was like a Melissa McCarthy movie.
Yes. Yes.
You almost took this, because that's the crazy thing about Ghostbusters, the thing that I loved about that movie is that it's so like, what is it? It's not one genre.
No, no,
Not,
no.
it's not you've got comedy, horror, you've got
Mhm.
genuinely scary moments.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got the moment where the hands come out of the chair and she's pulled
She's
into
going
the
right into the refrigerator. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Zool, right? I mean,
right.
gave me nightmares. Yeah.
And then a voice said,
Yeah, yeah.
but and the demon dog thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Chasing Rick Moranis. Yeah.
it's chasing Rick Moranis. I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, I totally was like,
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
time I saw the demon dogs, and they cornered in the thing, and you're like, holy cow,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are these things? And
Yeah.
so they had all these cool elements, but and yet it was funny. It had
Mm-hmm.
action. It
Mm-hmm.
had heart.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
actually, the characters were different, and
Yep.
like every member of the team was different, and yet
Mhm.
they were very real, and all those actors really brought it to life. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
Bill Murray, great in
Mm-hmm.
everything he does.
Oh yeah.
Harold Ramis, rest in peace. One of the I who
Yeah.
Harold Ramis, I think. Well, Groundhog's Day.
I know. I was just
We
gonna
won't
say
get into
like
that because
the
that's a whole nother.
yeah, yeah, but it's like the perfect quarantine. I mean, movie, right? It's like exactly what we all did over and over and
Yes,
over again. It's
yeah.
like people like
That's.
predicted the future. But yeah, Harold Ramis, amazing.
I think actually my wife said that at one point. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like we're in Groundhog's Day.
totally.
Yeah,
Same music. You watch the television screen and there's more. It's the same news. More.
yeah,
More infections. Okay, what else do we got? It's just like trying to figure out how to get through it. Yeah. How do you stop it from happening again? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had all these great
Mm-hmm.
actors and that came together, and really, like I say, it was something that was beyond genre. It was this cool story of obviously ghosts, and
Right.
it was you could anytime you said, oh hey, we're gonna have a movie about guys who go catch ghosts. Okay, you've obviously already got a cool movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you've already got you. This is a great setup for anything,
Right.
but the execution is what is key.
Right.
And they really, I think, did such a great job of walking that line of, it was serious, like there were serious stakes.
Mm-hmm.
It was a serious in a lot of ways, and yet it was funny. It
Yeah.
was adventurous. It was,
Mm-hmm.
just everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope, um we were talking about, we mentioned earlier about Ghostbusters Afterlife,
Mm-hmm.
which is, to tell everyone, so we all know, Ghostbusters
Mm-hmm.
Afterlife was the new one coming out, and it was supposed to come out July 10th. And
Yeah.
we were talking about this right before we started recording, and I looked that up, and I kind of like I kind of grabbed my heart, like, oh, like
Another.
July 10th. We was only a month away when we were going to get
Yeah. We
a
could have had
Ghostbusters
it.
movie. And
Yes.
now it's like, and now the release date is March 5th of 2021. So thank you, COVID.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
practically another year has to go by.
I
Yeah.
know. And
Oh
so,
man.
so yeah, that kind of hurt my heart when I saw the
Mm-hmm.
July 10th thing, because I didn't realize, I hadn't thought about, like, what movies are we missing, what movies are coming out,
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And then when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, I would have loved to have had a new Ghostbusters movie.
Right.
But that's what I'm really hoping that they've, with this one, and you're bringing back a lot of the same, um, the original actors are supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
back in it in some role. I hope that it's more
Mm-hmm.
than a
A
glorified
cameo,
cameo kind
whatever
of
Dan
thing.
Aykroyd was in
I'm
the
sure
last
it'll be
one,
a
right?
cameo of sorts, but I hope that
But
it's
it,
a cameo that drives the story, and it,
right, right, because obviously, obviously Harold Ramis isn't in it, but I think
right.
he's the one that plays the pivotal role, right? Is the as
I think they
it's
might be
his
his
descendants. Yeah,
grandkids or
yeah, it's
something
his
like that.
grandkids, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think what I believe is the setup for it, and I don't know that they've really, released the details, but I'm pretty sure
Right.
what the setup is that the Harold Ramis's character, Egon Spengler's, and it might be another one of the characters too.
Hmm.
I'm not for sure that it was him, but I think it was
Hmm.
Egon's daughter, and then
Hmm.
grandchildren move out and they find this farm. But actually, that makes me suspect because I think the farm is supposed to be the one referenced in the original Ghostbusters, the one that they mortgage.
Oh yeah, in
So
order to
they
remove the
mortgage Dan
farm.
Aykroyd's farm to
Yeah.
get the money to become the Ghostbusters, and I
It's,
think this might be the farm.
oh,
Uh,
that would be interesting. Yeah,
I know.
completely
That's what
forgot about that line. Now that you said it, yeah, it probably is
these
Dan
are my
Aykroyd.
hopes. I don't maybe
Yeah,
this is just me
yeah,
making that up,
yeah,
the own story in
yeah.
my own head,
Hmm.
but I'm thinking this is the farm, and so we're going out there. And we've got Paul Rudd coming in, who's great, who is like their teacher of these kids, and these kids basically find the Ecto One and decide that they're going to become Ghostbusters.
Hmm.
So I think you've there's enough there that I'm excited about it.
Yes,
You know,
yes. It kind of looks like Stranger Things because some of the kid characters are from the Netflix series Stranger Things meets Ghostbusters, but that's okay. I think you know what I'm saying, like that's something that
yeah,
can work.
I think that's something. That's the thing is just we don't want just a reboot of like
No,
four guys go out and fight ghosts again.
yeah, we don't want them
The
back in their suits. Yeah,
continuation of that story.
yes,
We want,
yes,
so and there were um the real Ghostbusters, I mean, the old cartoon had
yes.
tons of great
Hmm.
cool characters and things. I actually thought a cool one. There was one episode of that where they go into the containment unit. And
Okay,
so they've got all the
remember that.
ghosts trapped in the
Okay.
containment unit, and it's like its own dimension
Oh
in there.
wow.
And so they
Okay.
have to somehow somebody gets trapped in the containment unit, and they have to go in and rescue them. So I thought, oh, that would
Yeah.
actually be a really cool Ghostbusters movie. So if I was
Yep.
writing a Ghost, I might do that. But
Yeah. Look back
so
at
if
all those
Hollywood, if anybody
episodes.
hears that and they want, just drop me a line. I'll
Yeah.
write
There
that
you
up
go.
for you
There you go.
over the weekend. So anyway, um, but yeah, and I think we've got um, all of it. I think everybody is supposed to be coming back except for Rick Moranis.
Yeah, I think so. I thought
I
they.
believe even Annie Potts as
Okay.
Eileen Milner
Yep.
is supposed to be
Hmm.
in
The
it, and
secretary. Yep.
Sigourney Weaver, Ernie Hudson,
Awesome.
and Rick Moranis. I know is retired, so
Yeah. Yeah. He said he's done with film. Yeah.
which I think is it's one of those
Yeah.
things.
If you're done, you're done.
You're
I
done. You're
mean,
done. You're going to stick to it.
he's
And,
made his mark. I mean,
yeah.
the fact that we even mention his name now. I mean, he had some great films.
Oh
Some
yeah, Rick
classic
Moranis. I
kid
mean,
films, and I mean,
yeah,
just
great,
yeah.
great. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, Little Shop of Horrors was always I always liked
Oh,
in that with Steve Martin
yeah.
as the yeah. I mean,
Those two films, I think I have them still memorized. I mean,
oh
my
yeah,
sister and I, we still, start singing, Suddenly Seymour or whatever,
yep, yep.
I mean, it's
Which
great. Yeah.
there's that's another one they're remaking. They're supposed to be doing a.
And
I
it's one of
think
those things.
who have you heard who's going to be in it?
No, but it's like one of those things. It's like, how can you make it better? I mean, I don't know. There's just some things. It's just like, like the classic was with, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And they did
Mm,
Charlie and the Chocolate. And it's just like, you just
yeah,
can't make it any
and it
better,
had Johnny
people.
Depp. You had these weird melting puppets, and Johnny Depp is this weird guy who you would never leave your children with. Like,
Right, right,
and
right, right.
even the first one, it's interesting. I actually saw something the other day with Gene Wilder was on. It was an old clip from Conan, and he was talking about it and mentioned how it wasn't a commercial success.
No, no, I don't think
Willy
it was.
Wonka,
Yeah,
and
no.
yeah, how it really kind of has become this cult thing,
Hmm.
and he says he still gets, he's walking. What was so cool? He's talking about he walking down the street, and kids would see him, and he says they usually don't say anything, but he knows. Like they
He
just kind
knows
of
that's
look
what
at him
they're
like,
thinking. There's Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka just walked by us, you know, and I think that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, you've got those kind of movies, but why try to remake that classic if it's different with a story like, okay, Indiana Jones.
Yes. Let's see what the character, another adventure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, X-Men.
Yes,
Okay.
James Bond.
X-Men. Yeah, James Bond is another great example.
Sure.
These you don't mind because they're such cool characters that series characters that are set up to where they could always have a great adventure.
Right.
I think my favorite example has always been like an X-Men versus Jaws. Okay.
Yes.
Actually,
perfect.
Here's my Jaws.
Nice
thing. So
nice.
Jaws is a perfect example of how not to have a series.
Right.
How not to build a series because you have. And by the I think it was the fourth one, you almost they made it like where it was like supernatural, like where the shark had a vendetta against their family, and and you're like, okay, why would this local sheriff or local police chief, sorry, why would Brody encounter a shark ever again? He's not. Why would his kids suddenly encounter a great white at I think they're not.
No.
Why? And what's interesting from that is I always looked at that first movie and went, Richard Dreyfuss's character is the series character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
He's a marine biologist who studies sharks.
Right. He's going to come in contact with them again.
Another big shark.
Yeah. Put him up against a squid next. Or like,
But so that's the perfect example of you had a great. I mean, well, and not even saying the other films are horrible because they stretch plausibility. I Jaws 3 I think has its moments and but yeah, you just kind of rehash that same thing, and I think that's definitely not how to build a series. Now the ones we mentioned, the X-Men, James Bond, who was Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
These are characters who you expect to have tons of these adventures, and so when it's just another of these adventures over again, it just falls right into place. And those are the same ones that it's okay to reboot. That it's okay to continue on with the story and to go, okay, we're going to cast a new actor as Iron Man, but Iron Man's going on. Or Indiana Jones. Obviously it's time for a new Indiana Jones. I think the way that it should be done is to do an original Harrison Ford, and half the movie is flashbacks.
Yep.
And if I was doing the next Indiana Jones, if that was on my shoulders, there would be half of the movie would take place in the present with Harrison Ford, or not the present, but whenever older Harrison Ford toward the end of his life, and then would flash back and interweave with a new actor, younger actor as younger Indiana Jones, and it tie in with an adventure that he had as younger Indiana Jones. And then the next film, Harrison Ford wouldn't be in it.
Right. And who'd be the perfect new Indiana Jones?
Who is it?
Chris Pratt.
I was going to say the same person.
You were going to say the same thing?
I was going to say the same person.
Chris Pratt, right? I mean,
Chris Pratt, yeah. I totally.
Funny, already has this kind of adventure, around him.
In my mind, he's the perfect choice. Yeah, because he's got, I mean, you look at the Jurassic World movies, he basically was playing Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, he's. I think that would be so perfect for Harrison Ford to be in it. You give fan service, because here, I mean, that one is actually a little different because Harrison Ford is so attached to that. I mean, it would have been like back when you first switched away from Sean Connery with James Bond.
Yes, with James Bond. Yeah.
He's so synonymous with Indiana Jones.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully that would be. But yeah, Chris Pratt, I think, is the definite.
Yeah.
For that, another casting. One that has come to that I've seen other people say it, but I actually was saying this before. Is
Hmm.
Wolverine? Who do you think would be a great Wolverine?
I mean, I don't know. It's again, it's one of those characters, right? There's only been one, live action Wolverine. I'll
Hmm.
be honest. I don't know. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. Who did you have
So
in mind?
he's already Superman. So I don't
Okay,
know if there would be any
Henry
contractual type
Cavill.
things like that.
Okay.
But he was also in The Witcher, Netflix TV show that's on.
Yes.
Henry Cavill is his
Yep.
name,
Yep.
and really it was when I watched The Witcher, the Netflix
Oh,
show.
that you thought about, yeah, him
I
being
was
a
totally
darker
watching him,
character.
and
Yeah.
he's very kind of gruff in that show, and just the
Yeah.
way he did, and I'm like, yeah, he could totally be
He
Wolverine.
could do it. Yeah,
Even
he's a really good
more.
actor.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah,
great
he could
actor.
totally pull it off. Yeah, he
Well,
could totally pull it off.
but
Yeah.
funny thing, he's actually attached to possibly be. I've heard him rumored along with another character we mentioned, series character there, James Bond.
Yeah, I mean, because he is British, isn't he?
He is
Yeah, yeah,
British.
he's actually British. So yeah, he would. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
sure, why not? I
he'd
mean,
be
because
perfect. He'd be great.
actually, we kind of saw him in Mission Impossible. Wasn't it the last Mission Impossible he
Yeah.
was in? I was
Yep.
thinking that too. I'm like, yeah, I could see him as a James Bond. He kind of played, I mean, obviously he wasn't in that role in that movie, but you can kind of see him as that role.
He was in really where he basically played a James Bond type character. Was the Guy Ritchie directed, Armie Hammer was in it, and it's based on The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he basically that character is kind of a was it Napoleon Solo, I think is his
Mm-hmm.
name.
It's probably his
It's
audition tape for to be the next Bond.
yeah, right. I
And
mean,
he's
he's a
like,
little
watch
different than
this.
James Bond because
Yeah,
it's a more of a he's more of a
right,
fun type character. Where James
right.
Bond is usually a little more serious and his
Yeah,
humor is a little more dry and
dry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
cutting. Whereas
Right, right.
Napoleon. So, well, but anyway, you clearly when you see him in that, you could
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
easily picture him as James
Mm-hmm.
Bond. But
Oh yeah,
I also think he would be a great Wolverine.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, with you mentioned The Witcher, and that definitely shows you that he can be flexible in his character. That he's not just clean cut Superman, kind of style. That he can play this dark, brooding character that has inner demons that he's wrestling with. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, but wouldn't that be crazy if that actually happened and he was Superman, Wolverine,
Wolverine.
and James Bond all at the same time?
I mean, the trifecta
Like
there, right? You're a secret
like he would
agent.
be. Could you imagine being a kid and seeing him somewhere? Like
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know what that would even be like. I mean, do we even have a equivalent with
the
Bruce
Harrison Ford
Willis?
would
I
be the
mean,
only one I could think, or
yeah,
Bruce Willis maybe from
yeah.
like
I
when we were
mean,
kids. Like if you would have seen,
yeah, yeah.
but
Like,
still, that's not Bruce Willis wasn't Superman or
no,
any. I
he
mean,
was John McClane, though.
was John
He's
McClane,
close.
who's better than
He was
Superman.
John
But anyway,
McClane, right? Yeah.
cool.
Superman never had any great, one-liners at the end. You have to kill the bad guy, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Um. So well, I think we've had a good discussion here. I think
Yeah.
I had a few other things maybe we were going to talk about, but I think we'll save those for next time. And
Sure.
I hope everybody out there has enjoyed us rambling on about about all these different things and getting off topic and doing all our stuff. But this is what we're going to be doing every once in a while on cross examination. I'm still going to be doing the interviews, but then we're just going to have time when Will and I are going to talk and just hash out stories and books and the film industry and pop culture and whatever else we're going to talk about. Who knows? So I hope that all of you will join us. Will, it has been great having you here with me today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Ethan. This was a lot of fun. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as much as we did, and we will see you next time on Cross Examination.